I am Fernanda, and this is my personal testimony, shared in my own voice and translated from Portuguese to English. My name is Fernanda, and today I'm 32 years old. I was born into what people might call a Catholic cradle. That means I was baptized, went to Mass, and grew up hearing about Jesus, Mary, and the saints. But the reality of my childhood was far from peaceful or spiritually consistent. My home was full of tension, spiritual tension. My mother was Catholic, but my father came from Candomblé, a traditional Afro-Brazilian religion rooted in West African spiritual practices, especially from the Yoruba people. So I grew up watching two very different belief systems clash under the same roof. On one side, my mother followed Catholic traditions, Mass, Rosary, prayers to saints. On the other, my father practiced Candomblé, which includes rituals, spirit offerings, and honoring orixás, spiritual entities or deities that represent forces of nature. I saw altars, candles, animal sacrifices, and people entering trance states to receive spirits. To a child, all of it was confusing, overwhelming, and honestly frightening. There was no peace in that spiritual atmosphere. It was like a tug of war for my soul, and I was caught in the middle of it. Even before I was born, the battle had started. My mother had a really hard time getting pregnant. She tried everything: medical treatments, natural remedies, even spiritual consultations. I believe that what helped bring me into the world wasn't just medicine, it was something spiritual, a spiritual breakthrough, or maybe a spiritual price. I carry that sense with me even now, that what she went through, I went through too. Almost like I inherited her spiritual burdens. After I was born, my parents separated. I was raised by my mother and my aunt, but my mom, she was not well. She fell into alcoholism and wasn't present for most of my childhood. I was passed from one caregiver to another. I didn't have that sense of safety or stability that a child needs. And in the absence of stability, I started searching for something to hold on to. Spiritually, I was hungry, curious. I explored different belief systems: Umbanda, Spiritism, energy healing, fortune-telling, and even elements of mysticism. I was desperate to understand what was happening to me and around me. But nothing brought real peace. The more I explored, the more confused and spiritually vulnerable I became. Then, when I was 14 years old, everything came to a head. I went through what I can only describe as a full-on spiritual crisis. It wasn't just emotional or mental. It was deeply spiritual. I couldn't sleep at night. I flipped my days and nights. I was tormented. I began seeing and feeling things that weren't from this world. I saw demonic figures. I felt Satan's presence near me. It wasn't just an idea, it was something I could feel in my bones. I was terrified. I cried out to the Creator, the one I believed had made me. But I couldn't understand why I was going through such torment. Why me? Why at that age? And then my body started breaking down. I began bleeding internally. Out of nowhere, I started having a hemorrhage. The doctors ran every test they could. Nothing explained it. The bleeding was deep inside me, and no one could find the source. My blood count dropped dangerously low. I was weak. The doctors told my mother, "She's going into surgery, but we don't expect her to survive. The bleeding is too severe. Her body is too fragile." And all of this happened right around my 15th birthday. I was supposed to be celebrating that milestone like most girls do in Brazil, with a beautiful party, a big celebration. Instead, I was being wheeled into the operating room. But right before I went in, I felt something, someone, the Holy Spirit. I felt His presence, His peace, and I told my family, "Don't worry, I'm going, but I'll come back." During the surgery, they gave me multiple blood transfusions. They removed my right ovary. I survived, but I lost a part of myself. And my dream 15th birthday, it didn't happen. I was in the hospital, recovering. I finally had a small celebration 2 months later, but it wasn't the same. In the years that followed, I continued to deal with serious health issues. My uterus was damaged. I was diagnosed with cancer, likely cervical or uterine cancer. The doctors told me I wouldn't be able to have children. That broke me, because deep in my heart I had always dreamed of being a mother. I wanted to carry life, to bear fruit, to fulfill what I believed was part of my purpose. But now I was being told that my body couldn't do that. Still, I held on to something stronger than a diagnosis. I looked at the doctor and said, "You don't have the final word. The one who created me, He decides what happens to me." But I won't lie, those years were painful, emotionally, physically, spiritually. I felt like something sacred had been stolen from me. Then I met Marcio, my husband, and his story was just as complicated as mine. He had only 11% healthy sperm, and I had only one ovary and a compromised uterus. From a medical standpoint, we had no chance, 2 people, both considered infertile, hoping for a miracle. But I believed, I had to. I believed in the one who formed me, who breathed life into me. I believed in His promise over my life. And against all odds, I became a mother. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Valentina. She's 6 months old now, healthy, whole, a miracle. A testimony to the fact that God can do what doctors say is impossible. When I look at her, I see more than a child. I see a supernatural act of God, a living, breathing reminder that nothing is beyond His power. Today I'm married, I have my family, and I live in connection with the one who created me. It's not about religion. I'm not talking about going to church every Sunday or following rituals. I'm talking about relationship, about something alive and real. I feel His presence in everything, in nature, in silence, in my daughter's laughter, in moments that feel too perfect to be coincidence. My life is proof that God is real, that He sees, that He heals, that He restores. And if you're watching this and maybe you've been told you'll never be a mother, don't give up. Don't lose hope. Don't let fear have the final say. Surrender your pain. Surrender your doubt. Even if you can't see the path forward, trust that there is one who does. He's the Creator. He speaks life into barren places. And what seems impossible to you is easy for Him. Just believe.